Right, question 9, the 2015 paper on stats. So a class of 25 students was surveyed to find out how many WhatsApp messages they each sent in a particular week. The results are shown in the table below, and this is what's called a frequency table. So the number of messages sent were 0 to 30, or 30 to 50, or 50 to 70, or 70 to 100, or 100 to 160 messages per week. So we've one student that only sends 0 to 30 messages, two students who send between 30 and 50 messages. These 10 students send between 50 and 70. These 7 students send between 70 and 100. And these 5 students out here send between 100 and 160. Now, I don't know the exact values. I'm going to use this last box as an example. I don't know the exact messages they send, but those 5 students, maybe they sent 110 messages, one student, okay? Maybe another student sent 115 messages. Maybe another sent 159 messages, so that's the third student. Maybe another one sent 142 messages and 101 messages, okay? Or my point being, it could be any number at all between 100 and 160, and they're just all grouped together in that category. But as to the exact number of messages those 5 students sent, I don't know, okay, because we didn't get access to the original data. Whoever drew up this table grouped all of these 5 students together in this category of between 100 and 160 messages. And they did the same, they grouped these ones all together and so on and so forth. Okay, it could be a bit like your birthdays in your class. You could have those with birthdays in March and you're all grouped together into March birthdays, for example. Or it could be summer people, birthdays with students with birthdays during the summer could be grouped together here at the end or whatever. Okay, but you've somehow grouped the students together. This is the frequency down here, which is why it's called a frequency table, and it's how many students meet this condition. So one student meets this condition. When the numbers repeat like they do here, do you see 30 and 30? Or here 50 and 50, you need a key to the table, okay? And this is the key to your frequency table. And what it does is it explains these people that, for example, if you had somebody who sent bang on 30 messages, do they fall into this category or do they fall into this category? Okay, so the one they've explained, and you can explain anyone, is 30 to 50. And they've said if you're in the category 30 to 50, it means you've sent at least 30 messages, but less than 50. Okay, so you could have written these as 0 to 30, 0 to 29, I should say, my apologies, 0 to 29, 30 to 49, 50 to 69. So they could have used these headings instead of these, okay? And how do I know that? Because this said they've sent at least 30, so that's why 30 was included, but less than 50. So the number immediately less than 50 is 49. If you've sent 50 messages, you're in this category. And of course, it can be 70 to 99 and 100 to 159. Okay, so you could write the headings to number of messages like I have in green either. So a student is picked at random from the class. Find the probability that the student sent 50 or more messages. So there's 50 messages. So 50 or more are all of these categories here. Okay, so you have 10 students that send 50 to 70, 7 students that send 70 to 100, 5 students that sent 100 to 160. So let's add them together. So I have 10 plus the 7 plus the 5, okay, is 22. So the probability then is 22 out of the 25 students. Okay, you always write probability as a number between 0 to 1. Okay, or 0% to 100% if it's written as a percentage, okay? But 0 to 1 is probability. So all probability is between 0 and 1. You cannot have probability less than 0. If it has probability of 0, it's never going to happen. And you can never have probability greater than 1 or 100%, okay? If something has a probability of 1, then it's definitely going to happen. Okay, so for example, could you say what is the probability that it will rain in Ireland in April? Well, that's a probability of 1. Okay, it's definitely going to rain in Ireland in April. Okay, what is the probability that you will go to school over Easter? Well, that's a probability of 0, okay, because kids don't go to school over Easter, they're on holidays. So 22 over 25 is indeed a decimal between 0 and 1. It's normally left as a fraction, but you can change it to a decimal if you want. Okay, part B. A student is then picked at random from those who sent 50 or more messages. Okay, so this is the number of students who sent 50 or more messages. Find the probability that the student sent 50 to 70 messages. Okay, so 50 to 70, so 10 students meet that condition, and it's 10 out of, not 25 in this class, because it actually said you're picking the student from those who sent 50 or more. So you're picking out of these 22 students. Okay. Part C then, using mid-interval values, estimate the mean number of messages sent per student. Okay, so I'm going to just take our table of data again. I'm going to paste it here just so we're not looking over and back. So mid-interval values. So whenever you have a range like this and you need to find the mean, you tend to need to take mid-interval values. So mid is the value in the middle. Okay, so the value in the middle between 0 and 30 is 15. Okay, so these are my mid-interval values. Halfway between 30 and 50 is 40. Halfway between 50 and 70 is 60. Halfway between 70 and 100. Now you don't have to do it in your head. If you add the two numbers together and divide by 2, you'll get halfway between them. Okay, so check it on your calculator if you need to. And that's how you calculate the mid-interval values. Okay, why do we need them? Well, to get the mean, we add up all the number of messages sent and divide by the number of students, okay? But of course, we don't know the exact number of messages this one student sent. We know it's between 0 and 30, but we've no idea what exact number it is. It could be 0, could be 1, could be 2, could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it could be anything up to 29. Okay, so we estimate it. We pick the number in the middle and we go, on average, he might have sent 15 messages. Okay, these two students, again, we don't know the exact number of messages they sent. It was somewhere between 30 and 50. So we take the middle of the road number, which is 40. Okay, so then to calculate the mean, which is another word for the average, we add up all the messages sent. Okay, so I'm going to write it out long, or I'm going to start to write it out long so you can see it, and then I'll give you the shortened version of it. So we have one student sending 15 messages. We have two students sending 40. Okay, so that's my two students there. We have 10 students sending around 60 messages. So plus 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's those 10 students. We then have 7 students sending around 85 messages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we have 5 students sending around 130 messages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's all of my 25 students that are here in this table. Okay, so the mean, add them all up and divide by the 25 students. Okay, so you can see that is quite difficult to write out in the first place, and it's quite difficult to get it into the calculator then, because it's very easy to forget any one of these numbers that repeats lots of time. So is there a neater way of writing it down and entering it into your calculator? Yes, there is. Okay, and we use multiply. Okay, so you see the way we have 10 60s in this case, because we've 10 of the students at 60. Okay, so we're going to take advantage of that. So let me change color so that you can see it. So I would write down, I have one student sending about 15 messages. Okay. Now you don't need the brackets really when you're putting it into your calculator. I'm just writing it out like this so you can see what I'm doing. I have 2 students sending 40 messages. So 2 by 40. Okay, so that's these 3. I then have 10 students sending 60 messages. So these are all the 60s. I then have, I'm going to rub this out now if that's okay. So I have all of them accounted for. I then have 7 students sending 85 messages and 5 students sending 130 messages. Okay, so let me rub this out and make some space for the neater way of writing it. Plus 7 students sending 85 messages plus 5 students sending 130 messages. And you see that's far easier to write down. Just be careful though that you don't divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because we had 5 boxes, that you still divide by the 25 students, okay? And you'll get the 25 students if you add up all the bottom numbers. Okay, so if they don't tell you how many people, add all the number of students there together and you'll get your 25. Okay, so I'm just going to rub this out so that you don't get confused. That's what I'm putting into my calculator. Okay, so hit the fraction button. 15 plus 2 40s are 80 plus 10 6s are 600 plus 7 by 85 plus 5 by 130. So when I put all of that into the calculator, I get 77.6 messages. Okay, so 1940 over 25 is what I got, which works out to be 77.6 messages. Okay, so really important to be able to do mid-interval values at higher level junior cert. The students also found the total number of WhatsApp messages they sent in a particular week. Use the data in the table to find the smallest value that this could be. Okay, let's copy our table and let me try and explain this one to you. Okay, so use the data in the table to find the smallest value that this total could be. So they found the total number of WhatsApp messages sent. Okay, so what is the smallest number of messages that this student here could have sent? Well, it could be 0. Okay, so I have one student sending 0 messages. Okay, And then these two students in the next block over, what is the smallest number of messages they could have sent? It would be 30. These 10 students, what is the smallest number of messages these could have sent? Well, every one of the 10 of them could have sent just 50 messages. Okay, now this is highly unlikely that this happened, but this is the question that's been asked. What is the smallest value that the total could be? So in the next block over, those 7 students could have sent 70 messages. And of course, the 5 students could have sent 100 messages. Okay, and it didn't ask us for a mean, it just asked us for the total number of WhatsApp messages. So that's what we put in. So 2 by 30 is 60. Well, he's going to be 0. 2 by 30 is 60. He's going to be 500 plus 7 by 70 plus 500. So I'm getting 1550 messages. Okay, so you can see when we took the mid-interval values, we got 1940, okay, as the total number of messages sent, because that's what's always on the top. The total number of messages sent, if you take the smallest possible value, well, that's you taking the smallest value in each of these ranges, you'll get 1550. Okay, so that's your answer to that question. Of course, another question they could have asked was the largest or the biggest number of messages sent. And it's kind of the same question, except you'll take the biggest number in each range, okay?